Okay, right. Good afternoon.
Good
How are we?
afternoon. Still
All right.
picture Stuart.
Yeah, still picturing me. Apologies for that. So if you're watching, I've got an issue with my camera, so we've decided to turn it off unless you wanted to watch me look like some kind of 80s pop video. Um, so yeah, so we've turned that off. So, but
You're looking like an agility star in your picture, Stuart.
that's
You
it.
almost
Yeah, I've
look
got
like what you're doing.
yeah, almost look like I know what I'm doing. Yeah, absolutely. Right, perfect. So, how are you getting on? All right, all good?
Yeah, all good, all good. How are you?
Yeah, well, not too bad, not too bad. Just sort of building up a little bit towards the IMCA tryouts.
Yeah, I'm not going.
Yeah,
No, I'm not. I pulled out the PSQ weekend and decided not to do IMCA.
okay.
I haven't got it in me to travel abroad or to give the commitment to travel
Yep,
abroad this year. So
yep.
yeah, I've decided to concentrate on the British side of things this year.
Perfect, perfect. That's all
Well,
right.
so good luck to you anyway. Are
Thank
you,
you
are
very
you
much.
at PSQ this weekend?
Sorry?
Are you at PSQ
No,
this
no,
weekend?
they started today, didn't they? I'm not doing anything, no.
Right. No, of course
No,
not. Otherwise, we wouldn't be talking.
else we won't be here. No, I'm not. I haven't decided not to do that. Like I say, for me, I concentrate a little bit more on the IFCS and the IMCA stuff.
Right.
For
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
But that was a choice I made early on, so that's what I'm sticking to. So today I thought we'd have a quick chat actually, because I saw a few things on social media regarding young dogs training, and how young is too young, or when should we start certain things. Are there some of the dogs out there, do we think that they're too young to be doing the things that they're doing? So when they're competing, some of the dogs, I mean, my opinion's a bit mixed on it, to be honest. I'm not sure either way, because there's obviously.
I think it's important before we start, Stuart, to get an assumption, to get the point over that obviously on social media, people are assuming that dog started young,
Exactly.
if they're standard they are, whereas they could actually just be a flipping intelligent dog that's picked
exactly. Yeah, I mean, that's where I'm sort of sitting on the fence with it. I'm not sure either. I know
Yeah.
what I do. I know with my dogs that I tend to take it slower, and tend to just wait a little bit longer than maybe the average person, agility wise. But that's a personal choice for me. I like to make sure my dog. I like to build a bit like the relationship side of things for me more than anything else. We start off doing our pet stuff first, and then see how they get on before we jump into the agility.
And I know we've spoken about that before, haven't we, from a training point of view? But I think coming at it from a physical angle, which I believe was the social media post about, was the physical angle. I did a little bit of research when we decided that this is what we were going to talk about this week. It's almost like a toddler, we kind of let toddlers get along with life, don't we? They run in when they want, they fall over. If they're unlucky, they might break something. If they're not unlucky, they might not break something. I am more concerned, particularly with running contacts, not just dog but A-frames, on repetitive strain injury and things like that. I'm a great believer that our dogs have only got a certain amount of dog walks in them. They've only got a certain amount of jumps in them. And it's how quickly you would start that process, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. The physical part of it, I think, is really important. But I also think for some dogs, the mental side of it, the maturity side of it is also in there. Some dogs are, I think some dogs are, they're I don't think they're not born with talent, but some dogs have just got that sort of work ethic in them that they can just do things from the day one. But I think most dogs need a certain amount of time to mature into what they're going to be.
I agree with that, actually, and particularly with hormones kicking in, both bitches and boy dogs. It can have a massive impact on what's going on and the level of maturity. So I know, having been a spaniel owner now, but also working with a lot of cocker spaniels, that they particularly seem to mature mentally much later than dogs that perhaps I've worked with in the past.
Yeah, yeah. I think there's definitely certain sort of breeds of dogs, I suppose, or not necessarily breeds of dogs, but what's the word? From the certain lines, I suppose. Genetically, yeah. So they've been bred almost over a period of years, or you know, or generations to be you know, faster developing, not faster developing, but they can work, you know, they're bred to be working. So that's how they've evolved, and that's how we've done with most of our dogs from hundreds and hundreds of years, isn't it? We've bred them into what we want them to be. You know, that's how we got all the different breeds of dogs over a period of time.
It's how early you want to start that process, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about, you know, particularly competition dogs, I guess, not just agility, but flyball and competitions. You know, how much strain. So in other words, your toddler, you would let them get on with rough and tumble and everything else, but you wouldn't expect them to go and run a marathon or train for a marathon under high arousal levels, under competition level, under maximum performance, because I believe that most dogs these days are high performance dogs. So their arousal kicks in so quickly. So they're dealing with adrenaline as well, which do dogs suffer from adrenaline come down, I wonder?
I would say so. I would have said so. I mean, it's a chemical, isn't it? If you take so much of a chemical and then you stop having that chemical, then you know there's got to be some sort of come down from that at some point. But I think, like you say, if you look at it from like, I mean, I haven't got kids, never had, so I don't know fully. But if you look at it from a parental point of view, like you say, we let the toddlers do whatever, but we're very aware of when they get tired.
Yes.
And we can pick the moments to go, right, now you need to stop. So I'm not going to stop you from doing the thing because of what you're doing, but I'm going to stop you because now you're tired.
Because you're making mistakes.
Yeah, that's where. So maybe we should allow our puppies to do whatever they feel like doing at the time, but we just have to be aware of the signs of when they're getting tired, when they're going over the top, getting more excited, the adrenaline is spiking, whatever that is. Maybe we have to then step in and be a bit more responsible at that point. But should we be restrictive?
I think yes, we should. To be honest with you, even dogs that come into agility later. So you know, if somebody follows the book rule and doesn't start agility until after a year, and they're taking it very easy, I do think that we still need to be restrictive on what they do. I think it's good learning. To be honest, you know,
I suppose it's the same as us if we're doing anything physical, like you say, let's say running a marathon, for instance. Even if we come into running marathons at 40 years of age, we come in really late to run a marathon, we wouldn't expect to be doing more than, let's say, 5K running for the first few weeks. And then we build up.
Yeah.
You know, it might be a year or two before you get anywhere near marathon level. And I suppose with the young dogs, it's the same sort of thing, isn't it? We have to start off as early or as the little small amounts first, and then
it's everything. So years gone by, I still am a qualified canine and equine massage. I don't practice anymore, but I've still got that knowledge there, and we had to do a study on the fitting process, and that boils down to pads and tendons and ligaments and muscles and bone structure and everything else. And, you know, even so much as, so for instance, say that you're lucky enough to be able to train on Astro, you know, you wouldn't go straight in at a year old and do an hour's training with that dog, you know, because you want them to follow the fitting process. I know Kippy at the moment, I've not got many skills, massive skills that I really want to train because I'm not doing the international, but I'm having to keep him training to keep his agility fitness up.
And I suppose with the young dogs, with their joints, their muscles, their tendons and all this, they're still evolving into what they're going to be. If we start to, even with a little bit of agility training, I suppose we're already manipulating that process. I suppose
definitely.
And that could be right or wrong. I mean, that could be damaging or not. It might be the opposite way around, where we're actually strengthening them.
Yeah, exactly. And then unless you're a vet, and I don't know, it'd be lovely to get a vet on here.
Maybe a vet or a vet physio or something we can have on. And
it's exactly that, because as you say, it could well be that we're toughening our dogs up, and that we're we're overthinking it, that people aren't overtraining their dog. But I think it's nice that people are concerned, but also I think it's up to the individual to take responsibility.
And I suppose it's also, when we look at it now, when you look at our performance dogs, the ones that are competing regularly at a higher level, most of us have already got a team, I suppose, behind us, from a vet, a physio, a hydro, massage, chiropractors. We've all got somebody or something.
You do better than us.
So we sort of like, we talk to those and get our advice from those. But I suppose if you're just coming into it, if you're a pet dog owner, you just come into agility and whatever, you wouldn't really have that knowledge or availability.
No.
So then you're relying then on what you read, what you get trained by certain people, what you look on social media, what or the books you read. So you're relying on that more than actually having somebody with knowledge that can feed you the right way.
Yeah, exactly. And it's allowing your dogs to develop, isn't it? As you said before, mentally and physically, so I know we were talking about the myth, non-myth. Is it true? Is it not true that we should only walk our dogs 5 minutes for every month of their life? How do we feel about that?
I think it was, for me, maybe I'm wrong again, but I looked at it a little bit, and I think it came from when you have, let's say, an expert of some sort, and we're trying to teach the general public how to be responsible, we have to make certain things in easily digestible sort of levels almost. So maybe it was just easier to blanket the whole thing and go, right, this is what we do. That might not be suitable for all dogs, but it's easier to explain to explain to 1 million people in one go by just going, right, just do this. Whereas if we had each individual person, you then got to explain 1 million times, your dog's allowed to do this, but your dog isn't. Your dog can move to here, but your dog can't. Whereas it's easier just to go.
That most people know that the bigger dogs, take longer to develop. But I think too much emphasis is put on growth plates, because, one of the articles that I read, a vet had actually been asked to x-ray to see if the growth plates had closed. Well, okay, so say, for instance, the x-ray came back that, yes, the growth plates were closed at, say, 9 months old. How do we know? Now, I think, again, it depends what sort of training you do, that tendons and ligaments, they're very strong when kids are young, when dogs are young. We know that they're very strong, but it's still, you've got that risk of causing repetitive strain injury from repetitive wing. We all strive now for tightness and speed and everything else, and I certainly wouldn't, if a vet at 9 months old had said, well, the growth plates are shut, would I be willing to take it? Potentially. I still wouldn't be jumping it over height. And if I was teaching it a running contact, I would be quite careful as to how many repetitions you were doing.
I mean, I think we get, like you say, I think sometimes, like I've said to you before, sometimes I think we try and wrap people up, I suppose, or we look after people and we try and say, right, you're only allowed to do this and we're not allowed to do that. Whereas should we be allowing people to make their own decisions? Whereas, like you said, that you probably wouldn't jump your dog at a certain height, whatever, but then I probably know 10 people that would.
Exactly.
And who's right or wrong. Exactly. But it would definitely be interesting to, maybe we were looking to get in either a vet or a vet physio on board that we can discuss a little bit further.
I also think that it's really important for people to listen to the behavior in the dog. Now, dogs are very they can be very easy to read, as we know, but very often we may get displacement behaviour, or very subtle displacement behaviour. You know, even if you're doing something and your dog suddenly stops and scratches excessively, or, you know, suddenly I've got a dog that I'm working with at the moment that has been focusing beautifully. It's over a year old, it's done lots of nice training, it's a spaniel, you know, it's working beautifully. Well, it got measured medium, so I've had to put the jumps up into medium. Suddenly I've got broken weights, and today it went off sniffing for a pheasant that wasn't there. So I know that dog is struggling with the height. Is physically fit, you know, it's, as I say, it's 2-3 years of age. So, you know, it's listening, isn't it, to what your dog.
So then you have to look at that. Is that the dog struggling mentally with what's going on, or is it physically, that they just go, I can't, you know, I'm struggling with this?
It's probably a bit of both. It's,
you know, so you, like you say, you have to be able to read that. Whereas I think sometimes, let's say the general public or people coming into agility brand new, never done it before with their first ever dog, they wouldn't know how to do that.
Or have a lack of knowledge on general dog behaviour, which kind of brings us down to the whole regulation thing, doesn't it? You know, agility, which we're not going to talk about, but, you know, agility trainers, dog trainers, it should be regulated. And I think that maybe agility trainers should have general dog knowledge, behaviour knowledge, should I say, so that you can read these subtle behaviours. So many times people will think I'm bananas, and I'll say, I'm not prepared to do that because your dog's doing X, Y, Z. And they're like, oh, no, they're just being naughty. No, they're not. They're trying to tell us something. Please go and get your vet checked out. I get that a lot with pet dogs, actually, Stuart. That even I've had vets think I'm bananas. I've got a new client that suddenly started resource guarding at 4 years of age. It's 4 years of age. It's never resource guarded before. What is that dog trying to tell us that is going on?
Has something happened before, you know, in the meantime, you know, all of those sort of, different things that I suppose you have to look at what happened. And it's funny, actually, because I've just had a discussion with a few of the people that I teach this week. And we talk about different, like you say, behavior issues or behavior challenges that they're having and all that sort of stuff. And when they finish a lesson, I think that we don't do it. I don't do it enough. I've started to do more, but I don't do enough. Do we actually analyze the whole session and go, right, okay, what happened there? So my dog went off to go to the toilet at that point. Now, all right, they might have just wanted to go to the toilet, but I might also have a look at what happened in the minute leading up to that. And then I might be able to turn around and go, okay, right, we changed the jump height suddenly, or we asked it for a new behavior that we haven't really boxed off yet. And that's when they decided at that point they were going to go to the toilet. And if we get that every week, every lesson, then we can start to go, okay, this is the issue that we have. But a lot of people wouldn't look at that. They just, like you say, they would just go, the dog's being naughty, or the dog needed to go for a wee, or whatever that is.
I tell you what else that I've seen young dogs affected with, if young dog camps and group lessons and that sort of thing. So very often, or not very often, but you'll sometimes get a dog that barks at a particular, when a dog takes a tunnel. Or on a particular point of the course, on a ring wrap or something like that. And I've seen so many young dogs that won't repeat the behaviour because they believe that dog has just told them off for doing it. I've seen it where you know, people are going tunnel, and suddenly the dog's like, I don't want to go in that tunnel. Every time I go in that tunnel, that dog's barking at me.
That happens. Especially with the young dogs. You know, the less experienced dogs.
And I think that's something that we need to condition our dogs too, because obviously in the agility environment, you know, you can't shut the dogs up. We do get barking. So, but some dogs are really. I overprotected Kip in his early days from barking, I must admit.
I mean, I don't think it's a case of whether we need to overprotect them, but like I say, I think we need to condition them to that is going to happen, and it's okay.
And a good trainer would reward more, wouldn't they? They wouldn't stop.
It's okay. I do agree with sometimes with the young dogs that we're guilty of hyping things up to make it exciting. And then the young dogs get a little bit more over aroused, whereas some dogs will accept it and they'll work harder and they'll be better with it, whereas some dogs might shut down a little bit on that behavior. Some dogs go over their threshold and become the opposite way. They might become slightly maybe aggressive, maybe, you know,
well, the dog has gone up medium. That's actually, interestingly, I know it's struggling with the height, but interestingly, it's got faster, but it's got more erratic.
Yeah.
Like, let's just get this over and done with type.
Yeah, so it might be that, and then it might be because they've gone up a height, and then you're maybe inadvertently or subconsciously you're starting to try to encourage the dog more. So what you're doing is inviting the excitement level, and the dog's going, I can't cope with the jump and the excitement, I've got to do one or the other.
Yeah, and that's not just a young dog, but that's, you know, it's an inexperienced dog, isn't it? That's very different from young. And I know we've in our true style we've gone off from the
no, it's fine, but
side. But, an inexperienced dog might really struggle, as you say, with that overall arousal, and their adrenaline's coming up, and they're like, oh, I can't cope, and they just throw the towel in. So
they
but you know, should there be a hard and fast rule about what age? You know, again, it's somebody taking ownership of it, isn't it? You know?
And I think if you're a trainer, a dog trainer, agility trainer, you know, canicross trainer, whatever you want to do, and you're training other people, I think, like you say, you have to take ownership, and you have to stand by the decision you've made, and the people that you're training obviously are paying you money for your expertise and your knowledge, so they're going to trust you with that. So I think it's choice, isn't it? But you have to stand by that. So I know that we would probably have, at certain points, we're going to have a completely different opinion on how certain things work with our dogs, and that's okay, as long as we stand by why we're doing it, and we understand that this is the reason why, and this is the reason why I'm going to carry on doing it.
I must admit,
explain it.
I'd love to get an open-minded vet in to have it, or online to have a chat with us, and what they see is actually the physical side of it. Whether we can put an age on it, I'm not sure we can put an age on it, Stuart, to be honest with you.
No.
I mean, we do, because that's the guideline that we follow. I'll generally, you know, I'll start dogs on foundation stuff at 9 months, but then again, my foundation stuff is probably very different to your foundation stuff.
Exactly. So there's going to be a different, and I suppose it depends on also what you're looking for from your dog. So your foundation will be different depending on what.
There's some stunning photographs online of young dogs doing wing wraps and things like that, and they are absolutely beautiful. But it does demonstrate how agile and how strenuous, you know, just a wing wrap is for our dogs. And you can see it, and you just look like, wow, you know, is that a good thing for a young dog? Is it a bad thing? I remember, going completely off piste here, my vet, one of my vets I had a chat with when I was talking about Nairobi getting spayed. She wanted to spay very, very young. She believed that the dogs were at their fittest and their healthiest, you know, in 4 or 5 months. And I didn't, because I wanted Nairobi to have a season, but she'd done her studies, she was fresh out of uni, and she maintained that kind of 5-6 months old is one of the best stages to get them spayed, just because from a physical point of view that dog is at its fittest.
Oh, that's funny.
I know.
Because I wouldn't have taken that from normally we'd wait as long as we possibly can, you know, for, like, say, for hormones and joints and muscles and all the other bits to go with it. I
wanted to see what her mood and balance and everything else.
From a vet's point of view, I would say that if you get 10 vets in a room, everyone would have a different opinion on something.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
Even though they've read the same books, they've done the same studies, they've gone to the same universities and all the stuff that goes with it, I would guarantee that they'd have completely different opinions on certain things.
I actually know someone that may come on and have a chat. I must send him a chat.
Might be worth having a think about that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, again, you know, I don't think that we've come to any conclusion as to
no. But it'd be, hopefully it'll open a bit of a discussion for people that, you know, if they want to comment in, or if they want to join in and, you know, get in touch, whatever, then it'll be good.
We get bored with talking to each other, don't we?
Yeah. Absolutely. Right, I think we'll wrap that up there.
Yeah, I got bored talking to your picture today.
Yeah, we'll wrap that up there, and I'll try and see for next time. I'll try and see if I can get my camera to work properly. I'm not sure what it is, but it might be because the laptop's falling apart.
I can talk to your picture. That's fine. It's my beautiful face. People want to see.
Yeah, they didn't want to see me anyway. It's fine.
Because I've always finished teaching when I come and do these recordings.
Yeah. Perfect. I think we'll wrap that up there. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's been lovely talking to you again, Stuart.
Yeah, excellent. Right, we'll catch you soon.
See you later. Bye.